We'll go to the other side, Notre Dame. There's going to be disappointment amongst Notre Dame fans, understandably, right? They lost the game. But I think if you look at it from a glass half full perspective, there's a lot of good. What was the big question about Notre Dame coming into the game? It was the quarterback, right? CJ Carr, with kind of a unique plan early on of short passing attack, he kind of grew up before our eyes. He showcased some mobility that we weren't really sure he had. He was able to keep some plays alive, did a good job in scramble drill, did have the interception, but that was really more of a great defensive play than it was a poor throw or a poor decision. There were a couple things he'd probably like to have back. For a first start, though, against a new defensive coordinator, when you're preparing all week and you're not really knowing what you're going to get, I thought he handled the environment really well. I do think there are some areas along the offensive line that need to be cleaned up, especially in pass protection. But that was a group that played better as the season went along last year. I would anticipate much the same as that group continues to grow with their cohesiveness. I do think there needs to be more of a point made to get Malachi Fields the ball. Now, he did have the fumble early on. He did have the miraculous catch down the right sideline a little later on. There were some good moments from him, but that guy's a difference maker. He needs to get more looks. He probably needs to get more touches, and they need to manufacture ways to get him in one-on-one situations because he's going to win those contested catch situations. The other guy that I think needs to be more involved in the future is Jeremiah Love. Now, they bottled him up in the run game pretty good at times, but some of the looks that Jadarian Price got there on the edges where they're kind of running off tackle, I don't feel like Jeremiah Love got enough touches on the edges, on the perimeter. I think they tried to take the fight right to Miami, and Miami was up to the task. So perimeter run game is going to be something I think they'll utilize a little more as the season goes along. I look at Notre Dame's defense, and I think the goal of this offseason to become more multiple kind of played out. We saw a lot less man. We saw mixing in quite a bit of zone coverage, which is not something we saw very much of last year. At times it was helpful, and at times it was not really well played. There were a couple easy third downs given up because they decided to get in zone. So I'll be curious to see as Chris Ash, the new defensive coordinator, continues to get to know his personnel. I bet you anything they'll probably revert back to becoming a little bit more man-centric. Now, they have the base zone principles installed in the event in which they're playing against Jeremiah Smith, for example, and they're going to now, they can't in 4 days implement a brand new style of defense. Well, you don't want to play man coverage against Jeremiah Smith, right? You want to play some zone. Well, they did that and focused on that all off season, and they were more multiple, but it did leave them vulnerable at times against a veteran quarterback in Carson Beck. So we'll see how this Notre Dame defense evolves as the season goes along, because I would imagine we'll see more man here moving forward because they still have lockdown coverability on the outside. Takeaway from Notre Dame, nothing is lost at this point. They lost a hard-fought battle on the road. It happens in college football. This is a breakthrough win for Miami, no doubt about it. But if you look at Notre Dame, they have responded really well to adversity in the past, and I would imagine they will again in the future. They also, within this game, responded to adversity tremendously well. There was a period in the game in which Miami had the ball for 13, 14 minutes, and Notre Dame had the ball for 12 seconds, and that was to take a knee at the end of half. They also took, from that point, that 13-minute span, and went from a tie ball game at 7-7 to 21-7. The game could have gotten sideways in an instant, but this Notre Dame team you can just never count out. They make the plays, they climb back in the game, and all of a sudden it becomes interesting there down the stretch. So I still remain extremely optimistic about what the Irish can accomplish, but tonight was Miami's night to reassert itself as one of the most talented teams in college football.